Alright guys, welcome back to the channel once again, and today we're going to be talking about the execution context in the JavaScript. So what is execution context? So execution context is the thing where your whole code executed in JavaScript engine. So whenever you write a file or write a code somewhere in the JavaScript, so your code get executed inside the execution context. So there are three types of execution context, which is called global execution context and function execution context, and there's a third one which is called eval execution context. Okay, so most of the time we use only the global execution context and the function execution context, because eval execution context is only used for the mathematical operation. This is only for their own execution context, but everything comes inside the global execution context, whether it's a function execution context or the eval execution context. So let's get started. Let's see how it works, and then we're going to be discussing more about this one. So it's something related to like event stack and event loop. Like whenever you try to write some code, so you design the path of each and every execution. Okay, so like let's suppose you have written two functions, so each and every function have their own execution path over there, like they are following, like in every function there going to be some other execution, like they're calling other functions or something, variables getting called over there, or something has to be printed. So that's called the execution path. So every execution follow their own execution context, so which is called execution path. Okay, and if it's a global execution context, so it's going to start reading your code from top to bottom like the JavaScript does, and it's going to be executing all of this like on the base of last in first out method. So it's going to be putting each and every execution one by one into global execution context. Whatever the last thing will be there, that's going to be coming out first. So one by one everything's going to be getting executed over there in the call stack, and then your code will be running, okay, in the browser or anywhere, like whether it's in the browser or whether it's in the server side. Okay, so that's how it works. So let's see one example and in the code, and then we can know it better. So let me just open the console, and let's suppose you see over here right now, so there are some consoles are written over here. Okay, so these consoles are coming inside the execution context, like global execution context. So these are all the things gonna be coming inside the global execution context. Okay, everything is like it's reading top to bottom and executing one by one every console. Okay, and it's printing over here. And if we talk about, let's create one function over here, function a. Okay, and just create type console dot log print function a. Okay, and then create another function which is called function b. Okay, and console dot log print function b. Okay, so there are two functions right now, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to be calling the function a inside function b. Okay, so a inside b, and then call b over here like this way. Okay, so you see my both the functions are getting executed. So what is happening, b is first, it's getting added into the global execution context, like both the functions are adding into the global execution context, but you see the b is following the path, like there's another path for the b, which is called another function execution context. So this is execution path, this is calling back function b, and when function b gonna be called, there's another call gonna be for the function a. So this is going to b to a, like b to a, b function execution after a function execution. So a function is inside the b, so this is the function execution context. Like over here it's a different path, it's not touching any other like things written into the code, it's only gonna be following that path which you have defined for this b function. Okay, same gonna be creating another for the a function over here. Okay, so it's gonna be creating new another execution context for function a, and after that, like after once b called the function a, so a gonna be following the path which we are defining inside the function a. Okay, so every function, just remember, every function have their own execution context inside the JavaScript engine. Okay, so when they're gonna be executed, like the function's gonna be executed, so they're gonna be following their own execution path, they're gonna be just following that path, which is already getting defined once you pass your files in the JavaScript. So that's how it works. So first the execution gonna be start running, so it's gonna be keep on adding inside the call stack one by one, and then it's gonna be executed one by one. Okay, so that's how it works. So which is called, this is called function execution context for each and every separate functions, and this is called your global execution context where all the code is written, okay, globally. And in the global execution context, automatically it defines the this element file, okay, but in the function execution context is automatically added to the window. Okay, so if we type this over here, you see what we got window now over here. So we get all the things inside of this, and even we're gonna be getting these functions as well, a and b. So you see the function a is over here and function b is over here, because this is coming inside this element which we have added over here, right? So that's how the execution context works. So this is called global execution context in the function. So you see function side, when we print this one, so it's going to be calling it. And also in the global execution context, whatever the variables you are defining, so in the previous video we were discussing about the hoisting, like whenever we define any variable, so it's going to be hoisting at the top automatically, okay, and it's going to be defined with undefined value. It's going to be defined, but the value going to be undefined for that. So the undefined value was getting hoisted inside a global execution context, okay. And when you define any variable inside the function, so function does the same thing. So variable gonna be defined at the top of the execution context, and which is gonna be undefined value. Function have their own scope, their own execution context, and the global execution context is already there, okay. So that's how it goes. Like you just have to understand, like this is your global execution context where you have written all the files and every code, and this is your function execution context. And function execution context is totally different from the global execution context, but this features gonna be little similar, like they're defining the variable inside of that, but it's gonna be scoped inside the function only. And if you have defined anything inside the global execution context, like the globally, but you can call inside the functions. But if whatever you have defined inside the functions, you can't just use it outside of the function, like in the global execution context. Okay, so that's how this JavaScript engine works, okay, and inside the global execution context, the function execution context. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. So thank you so much guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video with new topic on the JavaScript.